Howdy, everyone. I'm Kyle Chambers with Texas Quality Assurance, and today we are going to be talking about the TQA Cloud QMS software. Now, what's great about this is that it operates off of Microsoft 365. Truth is, there's so much that Microsoft 365 does that we can all use in our day-to-day business and everyday lives. And that's really what we've tried to do with the TQA Cloud QMS software is to try to bring all of these features together into a very simple, easy to use, and kind of common sense solution for managing your quality management system. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. Now, I want to let you know that we are offering a promotion here through the end of December of 2021 for any new clients, a annual subscription. We are offering 50% off that annual subscription. Again, that is only good through the end of the year. So if this is something you're interested in, or perhaps have been thinking about over the past few months, now is definitely the time to jump in and get it done. So before we dive into this too much further, I want to tell you a little bit about why we developed TQA Cloud, a little bit of the history of it, and why this is really such a value for quality and compliance managers really across multiple industries, specifically serving, manufacturers, small businesses, service providers, especially in and around the industrial space or oil and gas industry. But TQA Cloud was originally developed by quality managers for quality managers. Fact is, we know that it's a pain to keep up with the endless binders of documents and unending spreadsheets. And you never can seem to keep up to date with the deadlines, to-do list, everything that needs done. I mean, it is a full-time job to create the system, much less manage the system. So we want to be able to provide that opportunity for you to get in there and do what you need and find a way to save time and effort for really what matters most in your day-to-day business. So let's dive right in and let's take a look at the TQA Cloud software. Let me get this thrown up on the screen here. All right. So this is the TQA Cloud QMS software. Again, everything operates out of Microsoft 365, and this provides so many advantages. For one, it's a common interface. We're all used to seeing it. We're all used to using it. From time as a software developer, from time as a quality, health and safety manager, trainer, you name it, whatever the case is. What I found is that there's one commonality in implementing any new system, whatever it is user accessibility and ease of use. If you can make it easy for your user to engage, for them to take part in the process, they're more likely to do it, especially if it actually affords the benefits and values that they're sold it does. And people are smart. They figure out real quick if a tool is useful or if it's more complicated than necessary. Let's face it, small business owners and operators, your production supervisors, how much of a week do you want them on the computer? Do you want them on the computer for, 6 hours a day, or do you want them out in the shop making it happen? Well, I bet you probably want them out in the shop making it happen. So we've got to make certain that the back end of the software, what we're doing is easy enough for them to use, that they don't need a 2-week-long training course to make proper use of it. So we'll take a look at some of the common modules we've got here. So we've got document control, our QMS management, competence and training. I have to say, having been a safety manager for about a decade, oh my gosh, it is such a difficult process to keep up to date with who needs trained, who has been trained, what trainings are coming up. I used to take a full weekend every quarter to go through pivot charts and spreadsheets and photocopies to figure out my training schedule. It's a breeze, such an easy process now. We're going to take a look a little bit at file shares and some of the OH&S modules. This is a lot of new stuff that's coming down the pipe next year. So we've got a couple of features in here right now, but really a lot of great stuff coming at you. Also, with software, we always have the support desk here as well. So if you have any questions, any concerns, something you can't quite figure out, or whatever the case may be, we want to make sure that we're right there available to help you. So you can put in a ticket. We'll be back in touch with you very shortly. But let's take a look at a few of these modules. So first, we've got document control. So let's go ahead and minimize a couple of these things on the navigation. So you'll see that we have the two ways of navigating right here from the home page. This is really, really nice, especially for a mobile device. So if you're operating on your smartphone, something along those lines, really great way to navigate. But we know that most of us are still kind of used to the more formal navigation. So we've got here under document control, all of the standard document libraries. Now, document library is kind of a special term. So all it means is it is a place that we're storing like documents. Okay, so our policies and manuals, forms and documents, you name it. So let's take a look at our policies and manuals real quick. So we've got just a little bit of information in here for policies and manuals. So not just tons of data in here. But what we've got with policies and manuals is, and this is true across all document libraries, so we're just going to use this as a sample, is we've got this document here. We see that it's in an approved status. Well, as it's in an approved status, that means that this is an approved, controlled document. So it's very easy to see. These are clearly draft. This is approved. And the approved numbers, approved documents have an integer version number. Okay, so we got a whole number there. One of the more fun things is we have full document history as well. How many of you run into the situation where you can't quite tell which version of the document's the most up to date? This is Rev 1 Kyle's version, Rev 1 Caleb's version, whatever the case may be. And then where do you put the archived documents? Well, we just toss that whole problem out the window, and the system itself manages the version log for us. We can even view a previous version of the document. We can see the comments that last time that document was approved. If any of the metadata helping us index it changes, we have copies of that as well. So it's all stored here. Nice, easy to use, easy to find. We just can't make the process any simpler or easier than what we've got here. Now, we'll take it a step further. So what we've got here are our required approvers. Now, you see that it's blank on some of these, so it gives us that nasty little alert letting us know you have to complete this field. You can't move forward without it. Now, what this does is we've got here required approvers for this document set to policies and manuals. So we'll go ahead and open that up. Now, the thing about the required approvers is once this document is published for approval, it is going to automatically request the folks on here to get that document approved. So let's take a look here. This one has a single required approver. So when this document is published for approval, Caleb here is going to get an email. The email is going to say this document was published by Kyle. You'd like to have it approved. All right. So Caleb has the option then to say approve or reject, all from his email, from his inbox. Once that document's approved, it gets elevated to the next version, and our document control is handled with traceability, approvals, you name it. Everything is there, simple and easy. And we have the same process applied across all of our standard document libraries. Very fun feature. We all know that document control is just at the core of so much what these management systems require. So I want to talk about management systems. Let's talk briefly about the management systems that we support with TQA Cloud. So let me change this here real quick. Sorry. So we commonly support ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, API Q1, Q2, and ISO 1345. Now, so these are your big quality management standards for 9001, your health and safety with 45001, environmental for 14001, and of course your oil and gas quality management for the manufacturing service side of the business, and very recently adding on the medical device for 13485. So really, it doesn't matter much of where you're going. We've got a tool, we've got the features, we've got what you need to make certain that you can save time and effort for what matters most. Let's take a look here at one more feature. So I've got it pulled up already. Let me get this turned on. There we go. All right. Let's take a look at non-conformance reports. Now, control of non-conforming outputs for a small business is a very, very vital function. And you might think, well, we're not a manufacturing company. How's that help us? Well, you probably received materials. You probably want to check the bill of material, make sure you received what you're going to. Maybe you had a service ticket entered and someone didn't, maybe someone skipped a step on the work scope. Well, we want to note when we have these problems. And the beautiful thing is that if we are tracking our non-conforming information across all departments, it gives us a lot of good information for monitoring and measuring of that process later on. So we've got here our NCR number, automatically generated. You don't have to worry about creating the numbers. We identify the date and responsible party. Fun thing about responsible party is once a responsible party is assigned, they get an email letting them know you are assigned to this non-conformance report. They can even get regular updates. And truth is, you can set as many custom alerts as you want. I say as many. You can have up to 300 custom alerts. So within reason, you can have as many custom alerts as you want on the system. So if you've got something assigned to you and you want to know if someone else makes a change to it, you can put that alert in there. We can identify what type this is. This is internal. Is this external? Here we said this was, if we say this is external, is it supplier related? Have they been notified? Who's our supplier? All the basic pertinent information down to the equipment we're working with, the work shift, all our defect codes. So we said receiving here earlier. So this was an MTR issue. Great. So we've got all the information we need. We can even track cost of poor quality. What was our material cost? What was our supplier cost? Any man hours? Any other information? Fantastic information for really calculating and tabulating this information. And if I'm talking to the quality managers out there, look, we all know that in order to get any of the improvement ideas you need pushed through the business, because it's just smart business practice, you have to show a return on the investment. Well, how do we show a return on investment on continual improvement? Well, if you're using the system here, you can track that cost of poor quality. Forgive me, sorry. You can track that cost of poor quality across all of the various non-conformance reports and corrective action reports over the year. And you can very clearly show what could have been saved very easily. Then we move into our disposition. Disposition is where we assign who's going to actually be responsible for getting this resolved. So disposition does not have to be the same as responsible party. Same thing. They get an email there once it's assigned. We can identify, who completed the disposition, all the details from the accepted quantity, the scrap, rework, all that pertinent information you need. One more thing is we have a fun comments feature over here. So very similar to the way social media works. You can tag one of your employees in a comment. When you do, they'll automatically get an email notification letting them know that that comment's entered in the system. You can see a few examples here. And they'll have a link to this non-conformance report to go in, make any edits or updates based on the comments. And we have full traceability of that communication. So it makes all these various sections of the standard really start to get tied together, from communication to monitoring, measuring, control of non-conforming outputs, to just helping to manage your business better by tracking on the cost of poor quality. And the last one is notes and attachments. This is common across the board, but we've got the option to attach files here. You can attach, if you're working on a mobile phone, you can attach directly from that mobile device. Again, just making it as simple and easy as possible. So it's kind of enough on non-conformance reports. We'll take a look at something else here. So let's move on over. Let's take a look at our corrective actions. So corrective actions, really similar to what we're taking a look at with our non-conformance reports. Close out a couple of those tabs there. So corrective actions, very similar in a lot of ways to non-conformance reports, but the idea here is that we want to prevent the recurrence of this issue in the future. So that's what we've got here. Is it's going to give us the option to, oh, sorry about this. So this is a fun alert. I'm actually kind of glad this happened. So what this is doing is the system is saying, hey, Kyle, you're trying to edit a closed report. So what it's telling me here, and of course, the big nasty warning, this is a closed report. You don't want to work on it. So I can tell it proceed, and what it's going to do is it's going to let me go ahead and keep taking a look at it. But I'm going to have to go manually open this report if I want to view it. And even more, the fact that I manually open that report will then get stored in the version history for this corrective action report, very similar to what we saw in the document control. So I'm going to know who made every single change to every single field and when they made it. Absolute, complete traceability of what's going on with it. I'll take a look at just a few more details here, though, rather than going through and reopening this. So let's take a look at our containment. Here, we've got the option for the risk sliders. Again, our goal is to integrate as many of the requirements of these standards into a simple, easy-to-use, cohesive type system. So risk-based thinking is one of these things that really no one quite understands or knows how to address. Lots of different opinions on the matter. But the fact is, if you have a risk that is worthy of mitigation, what's the go-to quality management tool to mitigate it? It's going to be your corrective action or preventative action report. So what we're going to do is we're going to track our risk, our pre-mitigation risk. Then when we've completed the corrective action, we're going to track our post-mitigation risk. So in an ideal world, if you're going to close out the corrective action and show verification of effectiveness, our post-risk mitigation had better be less than our pre-mitigation risk. So gives us, again, lots of options here, lots of integration of the requirements of the standard, which means a lot less work on developing the system, and you just get to step in and run it. So we go through with the opportunity to track our non-conformance reports, not non-conformance reports, root cause analysis. We can track by the root cause analysis type, the details for it, the final closeout. Again, these signatures are electronic and tracked as well, so you can see the exact person who signed and the exact date that they signed. Then we move into the same notes and attachments, where we've got the option for additional file attachments here. Same comment features. Everything's functioning very, very similar to what we had in our non-conformance report, but just collecting and tracking more pertinent data for your corrective action. And again, all of this is running out of Microsoft 365. So you don't have the expensive IT overhead, no need for a dedicated server, no need for a dedicated IT staff. The existing 365 licenses you have will work. And if you need any help getting that set up, not a problem. Texas Quality Assurance, we are a Microsoft, what they call CSP partner. So that is a cloud solutions provider. So if you do not have the 365 licenses that you need, or if you're having a hard time getting it set up, or maybe it's just not the world you live in and you need some help and advice, not an issue at all. We're here to help. That's what we're here for. And we're an authorized provider. So anything you need, we'll be able to help get that set up and make sure that you're taken care of. So let's move on to another real common feature. Bear in mind that we're not looking at everything that TQA Cloud can do today, just trying to hit on some of the highlights that I know that we see a lot of the times. So let's jump in here and let's take a look at our calibration tracking. So this is another one of those processes that's very Excel heavy. We all have the separate file folders to keep track of the calibration certificates, the evidence of preventative maintenance, and it's just a cluster, of paperwork. Well, why does it have to be? And I'd argue that it doesn't. So let's take a look here. So we're going to take a look at a calibrated equipment. Now, this one says that it's just standard caliper. It's got a 12-month calibration interval. It was last calibrated in looks like a 7/29 of 2020. So this is definitely overdue. And what we want to do is also keep track of all of those certs. So here, each time it gets calibrated, we can upload the cert, keep track of it here, and we can take a look here, not just our calibrated equipment, but we can look and see what's due in the next 30 days. So we have nothing due in the next 30 days, but we've got a few that are overdue. So in case of this demo, looks like we've got a lot that are overdue. So what we want to do is make certain that we can take care of all of these issues, but this puts everything right in front of you, easy to see, easy to find. And again, you can set up your regular alerts to get notified when something is coming overdue or when something is due soon. Once it's completed, we just go into the device. We update it with the most accurate and up-to-date information. So let's say that this got calibrated. Let's go over here. We got to go forward a whole year. All right, so let's come down here to December 14th. We got this calibrated today. We can go ahead and upload our notes and attachments. We can put an extra attachment in there and save it. And now this device is out of sight, out of mind until it's coming due for recalibration next year. So again, everything about the design of TQA Cloud is to make it as simple and easy as possible to operate and to manage. You should not have to have a degree in information systems to utilize the software. We want to make sure that you can spend your time on what matters most for your team, your organization, and do the work that matters in the terms of profit, and make certain that this is truly the support system that it is intended to be. So I promised y'all we'd take a look at competence and training. Competence and training, I got to say, is probably my favorite module. Competence and training, I just can't tell you how many hours I have spent pouring through Excel spreadsheets and trying to figure out who needs trained on what and when. So let's get the Zoom set a little more appropriately here. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. So the first time that I went to go do a massive company training, so this was not long after getting thrown into the health and safety world. There's a whole fun story behind that. My background is actually in IT, information systems administration, software development, but I got tossed into an HSE management role at one point in time. Loved it. Great experience, but fun story there. Any case, I remember my idea was, well, we can't train people too much. The more safety training folks get, the better. And we all see the logic with that until you stop to take a look at what their hourly wage is and what the overhead rate is and lost productivity. And oh my gosh, these trainings can be very, very expensive if we're training people too often. And that's the idea of why we have retrain intervals. How often do we need to retrain folks? Okay. Well, my initial thought was, well, I'm just going to have a forklift training every 6 months, and I'm just going to pull everyone in to redo the forklift training. And I remember the very fun conversation I got into with our operations manager, and he was absolutely right to be frustrated with so many of his folks getting pulled off production for training that they'd had 6 months ago that they don't need to have for a while. Well, how do you resolve the conflict? In my mind, it was, well, I can make certain that I always catch those new folks that come in and, maybe they'll go a little while without training, but we'll make sure they get taken care of. Now, bear in mind, first year in HSE, this was my naive way of seeing the world. But what I very quickly realized is that you have to be on top of these retrain intervals. When a new employee starts, you need to know day one, what all do they need to be trained on? It's one thing to say we do an employee orientation, but we need to know what do they need to get trained on and certified to. And some of these trainings and certifications are third party. You don't provide it internally. So you need visibility to know, well, when do we need to get it scheduled? How do we need to do it? So let's say that you use a third party company for crane and rigging trainings. Well, maybe that's not something you're set up to do in-house, and you need to bring in a trainer to do it, but he's got a minimum 10 folks in his fee. Okay, well, again, we need to have that visibility to make certain that we can make good, clear business decisions. And that is exactly what the competence and training tool will do for us. So we take a look at the report here. So this is the required training report. Now, what we do here is we can select the visibility that we want, right? So whether it's now, all the way up to 150 days, we can choose the department that we're looking at. So here we've got field service selected, and then we can choose the training that we're interested in. So let's say OSHA 30. We want all of our field service folks to have their OSHA 30 training. So here we go. Looks like none of our folks in here currently have their OSHA 30 training. And I can tell you that because there's no date completed here. Had they completed it previously, but were overdue, we'd know. And this one is a retrain interval of 0. So retrain interval of 0 means that we want them to have this at least once in their tenure with the company. Well, let's take a look at another training here. Let's see what we can find. Let's do confined spaces. So confined spaces, you see that we've got some folks here who have been trained, but they're overdue, or they're going to be overdue here soon. So again, this is going to give me all of the visibility I need to know who needs to be trained for each training and how long do I have to get them trained. Again, this used to be a full weekend of work and tiring and tedious. It's just a click away. So let me dig in here. Let me set the zoom more appropriately, and I'll kind of fill you in on how this works. So we've got what we call our training library. Now, the training library holds what we call competence directories. And the idea of the competence directory is that you can store any and all of the information you need for that training within it. So say we're doing our AS&T level 2. Well, fantastic. Let's put all of the information we need inside this directory of who do we use for the training? What are the requirements for it? Are there any procedures related to it? Let's make sure that we get all of those references put in here. And then we have the retrain interval, the departments to train on each of these. So that really governs and drives a lot. So every employee is assigned a department. Every training is assigned a department. So we can get that one-to-one match and know exactly who needs to be trained and when they need to be trained. And the system is going to pull up on a regular basis all of those training requirements. So when someone is trained, what we do is we go ahead and enter in that training in our competence records here. And this is just a list of all of the trainings that have occurred. So as someone gets trained, we enter their name in here, the training and the date, and the system does all the rest of the work for us. So as long as you provide the training, you get the names entered, it's going to do everything else for you. Again, it really just can't be any simpler or easier. The last big piece here is we're going to take a look at file shares. So you've seen a lot where we've done an enormous amount of work to make certain that you have everything segregated exactly where it needs to go. We know exactly where to put our documents. We know where to put our non-conformance reports. We know where to put our calibration records. But let's face it, life isn't always that clean and neat. There are some things that we just need separate places to store, whether it's a company file share, an executive file share, production file share. We need places to collaborate. We need places to dump data. So not a problem. All of these file shares are also document libraries, but without the requirements for approval turned on, just a file share. All of these, what they do is they sync with Microsoft OneDrive. So you can see here on my computer, here are locations that I have synced locally. So like we have executive directory. Well, it's very similar to what we have in the site here in executive directory. We've got a company file share. Same thing here. We've got our team share for our internal site. And that allows you to access all of those files on the Windows Explorer. And you've got the option to sync it with OneDrive. So if you're off-site, something along those lines, not a problem. All the information's there. You get an offline copy of it. And this works out really well, especially for folks that do field service work. And maybe you're 30 miles past the last cell phone tower. Not an issue. So again, this is just some of the basic features, top level view, lots more that we could dig into from our approved supplier list, audit management, action items page, tons of fun stuff to take a look at. The last thing I want to show you is that we make security easy. So one of them was common help desk tickets we had previously was folks asking, well, what do I need to do when I add a new employee? How do I go about adding someone new in there? And, we found that it was a lot of time on our part, and it was a lot of time on your part, and it didn't need to be. So great example of, continual improvement on our side as well. We want to make sure that your experience is easier. What we can do here is we can add users into the security portal. So this security portal, we assign a power user for each client. And what you have is the opportunity, give it a second here to pull up. It's got a lot of data to go through. But you add their email address in here, and we simply toggle on or off what access you want them to have. No complicated group structure, nothing like that. Just nice, simple, easy to use. And when you enter in their email address there, it will automatically send that email over to them to get them authenticated into the site. We require multi-factor authentication on all of these sites. Your data is incredibly important to us, and we want to make certain that it is stored securely, maintained effectively, and it is simply the best method available. You've probably seen that your bank uses it. Lots of other folks have started using it recently. So we want to make sure that your data is stored securely and safely. And multi-factor authentication is a great, great tool for us to do that. So that is it in a nutshell for TQA Cloud and the integration with Microsoft 365. So remember, we have the promotion going through the end of December 2021. We can get you set up on an annual subscription, 50% off. Just, shoot, you can send me an email directly, kchambers@texasqa.com, or comment below wherever you're seeing this video, and we will work to get you set up. So thank you all for your time, and hope you have a great day.